Welcome to another edition of Chaplain John with Chaplain John Sayers, featuring special reports and interviews with people doing kingdom ministry in Tulare County and beyond. And now, here's Chaplain John.
Hey, welcome again to the Great 50 Days. This is the second Sunday in the Easter season. Yeah. Some of you knew about this, and I didn't know about it until later in my life, but Easter was not meant to be just a one-day event. Early Christians they called it the Great 50 Days, which started at the Resurrection Sunday, which would have been last Sunday. And it goes and it follows, we can follow the events of Jesus going all the way up to Pentecost. And so there are 8 Sundays in this, and this is Sunday number 2. This has been like a sequel. I'm going to be staying pretty much in the Gospel of John chapter 20 and 21. I am going to jump into Luke 24, and then we will really wrap it up in Acts chapter 1 and Acts chapter 2. So that's those are the books of the Bible we're going to cover in this 8 days. Well, this is Sunday 2. And if you are with me on the first one, and you can go back and watch the YouTube thing, if you go back or the podcast, look at John 20, verses 1 through 9. That's what I covered last time. And powerful. This is a Easter morning. And I call that one the Great Foot Race to the tomb. And you can read that. Now, I want to jump into John chapter 20, and I got to begin with verse 10. Now, I had a chance last night at a recovery group to share. Last night. It was Thursday night. Okay. I had a chance to share this event, and I asked those that were there if they could come up with a sermon title for this message in about one sentence. For example, when I was looking at John, when you read John chapter 21 through 9, I'd call that the Great Foot Race to the Empty Tomb. Not a bad title. What title would you give this message if I were to ask you? And I'll share with you some of their responses. Okay, let's get into this. John chapter 20, verse 10. Let me read this. Then the disciples went back to their homes. Now, I have to, where were they before? Well, we're talking about Peter and John who ran to the tomb. They found it was empty. They went back to their homes, okay? But Mary stood outside the tomb crying. As she wept, she bent over, looked into the tomb, and saw 2 angels in white sitting where Jesus' body had been. One at the head, and the other at the foot. And they asked her, "Woman, why are you crying?" And she says, "Because they've taken my Lord away, and I don't know where they put him." Now, again, when Mary went to the tomb early that morning, and then when Peter and John ran to the tomb, when Mary went back to the tomb, they were expecting Jesus to be dead. He had died. They were even running to the tomb. And when they saw the tomb was empty, well, they believed Mary. They didn't believe her when they said the tomb was empty. They had to run and see it. And Mary, even though these 2 people in white, I don't know whether she knew they were angels or not or whatever, but she still was expecting Jesus to be dead. She said, "Tell me where they laid the body." And then this is interesting. And verse 14, at this she turned around and saw Jesus standing there, but she did not realize it was Jesus. Now, I don't know, somebody once told me that Jesus is the great practical joker. And we're going to see this pop up again in Luke 24. But take a look at this. This is where she doesn't recognize Jesus. It's almost like Jesus is going, she doesn't know it's me. And Jesus said, she says, "Woman, why are you crying? Who are you looking for?" As if he didn't know. He knew. Well, who are you looking for? And Mary, thinking he was the gardener, she said, Sir, if you've carried him away, tell me where you have put him, and I will get him. Tell me, and I'll go get him. Now, if I asked you, what is the shortest verse in the Bible? This is the big joke. Everybody say it's where it says Jesus wept. Okay. But let me give you the one word where Mary starts to grasp where her salvation is coming from. One word. Jesus says to Mary, he says, Mary, Mary. And she realizes it's Jesus. Oh, just one word. He calls her name. She wants to cling to him. He says, Don't cling to me. You can't cling to me this way. And go back and tell the disciples. And she will. But she realizes it. She recognizes by hearing her name, Mary. Here's the message for me. Well, wait a minute. Let me ask you, what I just read, what would you give for the sermon title? Now, I did this at a recovery group, and somebody wrote it down for you. Let me give you some of their responses. One sermon title could be Seeing Jesus. Not bad. That'd be a good sermon title for this. He is risen. Yeah, he is risen indeed. He lives. And one question is, who are you looking for? Ooh. If you're looking for a dead Savior, you're not going to see a risen Jesus. I kind of like the one, just one name. The name, your name. He's calling my name. He's calling your name today. How are we going to respond? See, that not only determines our salvation, but how we're going to live for him every day. He calls you. He calls me by our name. Okay, next Sunday, we're going to jump out of John for at least one time. We're going to look at Luke 24, because there's some dudes that are leaving Jerusalem on their way to Emmaus, and they're going to have an encounter as well. But today, here's the message. He calls your name. Second Sunday of Easter season.